Hey, Liminal Dad here. I mean, I didn't know whether to call myself Backrooms Dad or Liminal Dad. I guess I went with Liminal Dad. I guess it's more technically accurate, even though I like watching Backrooms videos more. But that's generally why I'm starting this series. It's just my love of the Backrooms series, which you feel free to look up. I don't want to like go into an explanation of it necessarily, but maybe I'll end up explaining it along the way here accidentally. Um, I What got me into that? What got me into it at my age? I'm 52 years old. Well, what got me into it? It was just natural causes when I was a kid. Of course, the Backrooms, as uh, is known and exists now, it didn't exist back then, so to speak. But I was always looking for it back then. Um, I In the late '70s, early '80s, I was approaching 10 years old, somewhere in there, maybe 7, 8, 9, all that in that area. Um, I My sister had allergies really bad. Um, Allergic to peanuts, allergic to lots of things, and she's 3 years younger than me, and she had a lot of health issues related to that, and so they started getting her tested, taking her to specialists, allergy specialists, and I'd have to go along for these appointments. My mom would just put me and my sister in the car, and we'd head off. We lived in the Dallas Fort Worth metroplex at the time, and so we'd head off to from the suburbs of Dallas into Dallas, North Dallas area, where there are lots of medical plazas that were built maybe in the early '70s. I don't, yeah, like late in the late '60s, early '70s. It seemed like I'm not totally sure, but it seemed like just that was the kind of architecture. So I just have these memories of going to these places, where you just kind of go up it's almost, well, what medical plazas look like. Maybe there's twin buildings with a courtyard in the middle, and there's just it's like all stone and cement, just surrounding it with some little and bushes encircled in floral arrangements and plants and stuff. Um, so I would we'd go into there into these buildings, go up the elevator to the to whatever specialist, whatever suite they were in, and sit in the waiting room. And then they call my sister back. My mom and sister would go back there, and I would be stuck in the waiting room, and I would just end up leaving the waiting room. This is back in the era when kids were just roaming around and doing whatever, and nobody cared. So I would leave and just start roaming around, and I'd take go get on the stairwell, go up and down, and eventually I'd find a like a floor of these buildings that was unoccupied, but it was kind of basically furnished. There'd just be you walk into some uh, onto a floor, and there'd be like a reception desk with nothing. It would just be the desk. There might be a, I don't know, a telephone on it. It was sparsely decorated, very sparsely. And then you go in beyond that into like a boardroom, and there would be a table with chairs and a phone and a file cabinet or something, but it'd all be empty. And then you go into the individual offices, and it would be the same, desk for whatever the executive or director or vice president or whatever. Um, and It'd be moderately furnished, and I just really got in. It just really made an impact on me, and I loved. Of course, this was usually on the upper floors that were unoccupied, and I would love just the floor to ceiling windows, and it being just like blazing hot outside, but then there's the just that. I guess in the back rooms, there's one of the characteristics of it is that there's the buzz of the fluorescent lighting. That's like one aspect of the back rooms that people have latched onto. But in this case, there wasn't a fluorescent buzz. There was just the quiet, or the kind of low grade air conditioning sound. Just blowing like. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but and it was very cool. But you could somehow sense the heat right on the other side of the window, and just I liked that. I really liked that a lot. That difference of being able to sense the heat on the other side of a window, but it being very cool and cold inside. And a lot of times I really, they had that tight carpeting, and I would lay down and just, I love laying face, or on my stomach and just kind of having my head turned toward the floor to ceiling window, and just you just see a view of whatever part of Dallas it was facing, from 4 or 5, 6 floors up, and then just laying that way for a while, and then just wandering around and just imagining that I would be lost in a world like that, of just elevators going to empty floors, wandering around in a maze of office space, cubicles, half furnished, partially furnished cubicles. This was just, a wonderland for me. It was, I wanted to just be there, be able to go there and live there, just knowing that I'm all alone, and that I was all alone by myself there. I mean, not that I didn't like people, I mean, I'm a social person, and I enjoy people and being with them and socializing and stuff, but I also enjoy being alone and just feeling, feeling trapped, but in a good way. So, this would carry on, and eventually at some point, I guess the allergist visit stopped, or maybe I just got old enough that I didn't have to go. I could just stay home by myself, and moved on to other things. But I always, I got in my teenage years, and it kind of went in early 20s, and I went through a phase of kind of going back to those places. This would be in the late 80s, early 90s now. And I was really obsessed with kind of getting on the roof of places and, just exploring these, I wanted to get lost in a labyrinth. I don't know, maybe a lot of kids have that, had that experience. I'm sure they did. It's a natural thing, if you just discover that kind of thing is there, that you'd want it. But then, fast forward to the late 2000s, I'm married, have a kid, and he gets a couple years older, and then I have another kid, and I'm just taking care of them during the day, and eventually I kind of got back into doing that, going to these places, but taking them, just we'd go for whatever. My wife would have, like, go to the OB visit or something, and we'd go up and down the stairwell, just with the young kids, and then we found, like an empty floor, an abandoned floor, or not abandoned, just unoccupied, and just running around in there. And so then finally, my son gets to be a certain age, and it's, I guess, 2019, 2020, and the pandemic hits, and all that stuff is happening, and he starts talking to me about the back rooms, and I just, honestly, I didn't think about it. He mentioned it for a while, and I just kind of tuned it out. I was like, oh yeah, cool. No, he was, it just didn't register. And then finally, I guess maybe I discovered it myself, or he showed me something, and I was like, oh, this is what it is. It's basically this thing that I wanted to find and be able to go to when I was a kid. But people are now, 14-year-olds are making these worlds in Blender, and creating this whole world of stuff. And I just really got into it. So, that's where I am now. Just, I watch Backrooms videos to go to bed, go to sleep. It's just really, really comforting. I mean, and I love I just never get tired of it, because it's just good stuff. It's a great place to be. I want to be there. I have to say, though, I mean, it's interesting the way that the kids, noticing the way that they interpret it, because I don't know, I don't feel the same way that they described, the nostalgia, and, just different things. I can talk about that. Maybe that should be a different video, like what I think of how the Backrooms is interpreted to younger people. But I'll just keep it at this today. Just, what. So I want to basically do a series on this channel, among other things that I do, where, I just talk about it. Maybe I'll do some. I'd love to do some reviews of Backrooms videos, just kind of, reactions, and watching along and giving commentary, saying things I like about it and don't like about it. And also, create some I mean, I'm honestly, I'm not going to get involved in Blender and doing that kind of thing, but I guess that's where the liminal space thing comes in. It's like, technically, what I'm connecting with is more of a liminal space thing, but somehow the Backrooms ties into that, and kind of gives me what I'm looking for. But I might try to do recreate some things that are in that vein, whatever. So I don't know, maybe I don't know. I feel like there's probably not a lot of older people doing Backrooms, generating Backrooms content, and maybe it might be something interesting to people who are into the Backrooms. Is just getting a variety of content from an older person who's interested in it. So yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. I'm going to be doing it just for my own fun, and just taking it to its natural conclusion, if there is one. So join along if you want, or not. Thanks. Liminal Dad.